Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 3 heroes in each role in Dota currently. So if you're excited for this video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Alright, so let's start off with the position 5 role. Usually I start these videos with the safe lane role, but come on, support players deserve a little bit of love now and then. Not always, most of the time they don't, for sure. But now and then, a little bit of love to position 5 players is always a good thing. So let's start off with position 5. We're going to start with Silencer. So funny enough, I would like to say more about Silencer. Some heroes on this list I'm going to talk a lot about because I think they've really changed and are cool additions to the meta. And then some heroes, this is just a list of what's good. It's not truly like new builds. So Silencer, there's nothing truly new here. The hero didn't receive any major buffs. It's just a good hero. It has a lot of impact. It's a very good laner against your average player, and Global Silence is a cheat code to winning teamfights at any point in the game, especially when people don't itemize correctly, which most players don't. They don't look at the enemy team comp and say, oh, there's a Silencer, maybe I need a Manta, maybe I need to hold my BKB till after the Global, maybe I should buy a Lotus Orb for my Terrorblade so we can get Sunder off. People don't tend to think this way, at least a lot of the time, so I think Silencer really takes advantage of that. Then we have Ancient Apparition. Talking about heroes that changed for the better, AA was a hero that actually received some of the most notable buffs in 7.33. Funny enough, so much so that he was actually nerfed in 7.33b. In 7.33 though, Ancient Apparition basically got his Aghanim Shard removed. If you don't know what it did, it gave your Ice Vortex 40 damage per second. Now that's just built into the ability, and that's pretty cool, because now the ability at max level lasts for 15 seconds, it's a 4-second cooldown, however it does 36 damage per second. And this might not seem like a huge number, because you're like, okay, by the time I get this ability maxed out, surely 36 damage per second isn't that much. But it is. It is because it's also amped by the spell itself. Ice Vortex amps magic damage, so basically this 36 damage per second is close to pure in most cases. And then on top of that, it cancels Blink Daggers. So in teamfights, heroes like Axe, Centaur, have a brutal time initiating against AA. They can't. I mean, like, if you're good at placing down Ice Vortex, which it has a massive cast range, you can prevent major initiating heroes from ever doing their job. It's basically like a Veno, but the cast range is way higher. It's way higher, and the radius is deceivingly large. And so yeah, this hero received a big buff in that regard. I also think it's pretty nice against a lot of the healing that people tend to be going nowadays. Right, there's a lot of regen builds, whether or not it's a Vanguard hero, Pipe hero, even though Pipe is actually a counter to AA, in a lot of ways. But AA is very good against this, right? Let's say there's something like a Doom with Vanguard. A lot of team comps will have a hard time killing him because a lot of supports just don't do that much to Vanguard heroes. And I actually think that's part of the reason some heroes are more popular than others and some of the heroes on this list, right? If there's a Vanguard hero, AA allows you to kill them with strictly magic damage. And then finally we have Jakiro. Jakiro is a hero that actually got nerfed. That's okay, because it doesn't matter. He's been good for a while, it's good now. It's good against a lot of the meta offlaners, such as Beastmaster. I think it's pretty good against Doom. It's a reasonably good hero against Darkseer in my opinion. So overall, I actually like Jakiro quite a lot in this meta. I think it mostly comes down to the fact that he does a lot of damage, and that makes the hero easy to play. So if you're not sure what to pick for position 5, maybe you're a core player and you have to do your role queue games, Jakiro is a great option. Yeah, he requires a little bit of skill to hit some ice paths here and there, but with a +1, he can kill nearly anyone. I had a Jakiro in one of my pubs recently, and he got off to a great start. The laning stage really went his way, so much so it was one of those lanes where the carry died, and then the support got like a double kill. You know what I'm talking about, that happens sometimes. And then all of a sudden, the support just has Macro Pyre at minute 8. It was one of those games, and Jakiro is like easily one of the best heroes in the game with max dual breath, which he did, which I loved because he was snowballing. He maxed dual breath, ran around, and carried a game where we were struggling. So yeah, I just feel like this hero's ability to have impact throughout every stage of the game is good. Good laner, good mid game, good late game, scales well, can farm if needed, team fights well, can play in pickoffs. Like, it's just a very well-rounded hero. So even if you have no clue what you're doing, you're probably gonna have impact. Then for the position 4 role, we have Skywrath Mage coming in at number 3. For Skywrath Mage, I'm just such a huge fan of this hero. In general, they buffed it, and every time I play with it, I forget they buffed it. If you don't know what they did, every time you cast Q on someone, it gives you spell lifesteal on that target. So let's say you cast your Arcane Bolt on an Undying, and then you hit him with your ultimate, right? Your Mystic Flare, which does huge magic damage, especially when amped by your silence. When you do this, you get an insane amount of healing. And as I said, this applies just on anyone at any point of the game you use Q on. So let's say you're fighting early game, you're gonna heal. You're fighting mid game, you're gonna heal. Late game, you just heal, and it adds up over time. It's gonna mean that Skywrath survives the occasional gank, sustains a little bit better in the lane, buys time for his team to get in position. And one thing that I really want to mention, if you play Sky, don't double down on like magic damage items. I think people have this bad idea of Skywrath that you like have to go Atos or like you have to go Kaya. You do not have to do this at all. I like Mana Boots a lot. I think Mana Boots are nearly a requirement on this hero, or otherwise your mana pool is just not good enough in a lot of team fights, especially if you have early max Q. And then from there, you can just go Pavis. Like, this item is insane. The sustainability of Skywrath with Spell Lifesteal and a Pavis with a Magic Wand and Raindrops is incredible. You can play this hero as a pseudo tank because the Pavis gives you a little bit of armor, quite a bit, 3. Gives you HP, gives you mana regen, which you want. And then when you pop it on yourself, these physical damage heroes that tend to shred you don't kill you nearly as fast, and then you can build Spell Lifesteal off them. So building a little bit of tankiness, you know, as I said, you want Raindrops, you need Clarities and Magic Wand, and then of course Mana Boots. But from there, you can go Pavis into Drums, or Pavis into Solar Crest, and you can, or Force Staff, and you can play to be tankier, and it's a great option that the hero has now. And yeah, it's also great with a lot of the current offlaners in the meta. It plays very well with them, a lot of the melee heroes. Then we have Oracle. Funny enough, yeah, I'm putting Oracle in position 4. I really like when this hero doesn't necessarily have to like run around and ward, because I just feel like it dies trying to do that. That's one of the problems. I also really like Oracle when he lanes with beefy tanky guys who don't necessarily need the help once they have Vanguard. Like, part of the problem with position 5 Oracle in my experience is he's just a bad laner in a lot of cases. And so with safe laners, like let's say you put him with a Slark, it's a horrible lane. It's an awful lane. It's really, really bad. And it's so much so to the point where Slark can lose to heroes he typically would do well against. Like Slark Oracle can lose to Underlord, for sure. Like for sure, because Oracle just doesn't do enough in terms of overall chip. And therefore, yeah, I just prefer this hero when he can kind of play chiller lanes. He can focus on side pulling the large camp and just securing the range creep and sitting behind some guy who's rushing a Ring of Health and then eventually Vanguard and going from there. He can then stack Ancients and get XP and gold that way. And so I really like this strategy. The only thing I will say is that you do need initiators and other roles if you're going to do this. And I definitely like when you can pick this with something like Crystal Maiden position 5 or Disruptor position 5, where your position 5 has quite a bit of catch and lockdown. Otherwise, you will lack that. Because Oracle is much more of a damage hero in the early game when he maxes his E, other than anything else. But yeah, Oracle's win rate is very good right now, and they just buff this hero like crazy. The fact that the W no longer disarms your teammates, but still makes them spell immune is insane, considering the fact that basically no spell, nor BKB, makes anyone spell immune anymore. Having one of the only sources of 100% spell immunity is insane. It might be the only. It probably is the only. And so yeah, Oracle just makes people invincible. And his shard is really broken. If you don't know what it is, it heals, it does damage, it amps your teammates' heals that are inside of it, and lowers the healing of the enemies inside of it. This ability is insane. And finally, I can happily say this one because this hero is crazy. It's Bounty Hunter. Now that the E stuns, it's just a different hero. I don't know, man. It's just such a long duration stun. This hero sets up so well, and you can stun twice, because if you hit them towards the end of the invis, you can just invis and stun them again. It's like a 3.2 second stun. It's crazy. I don't know. Everything about Bounty, the hero's base stats, trades well. There's so many effective small items in the game right now, where if you just buy them all, you're gonna have so much impact, man. Like, you could just have Drums Pavis Glimmer on this hero for like 6k gold, which you get no problem. And you're going to be the most impactful 6k gold hero in Dota. And yeah, as I said, Bounty just gets these items so incredibly fast. So the tempo of Bounty Hunter as well, I will say, I really like, because there's less sentries in the game. So there's less sentries to scout Bounty. There's more room on the map, so it's harder to catch him with those sentries in the first place. And carries farm kind of far away from their team in a lot of cases. And Bounty scouts them out and griefs them better than any other hero. So he just really fits into this meta of like hyper carries farming defensive camps. He just runs and finds them and griefs them, or sets up for kills and buys effective small items. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like literally with the Game Leap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much, much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the Game Leap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and and I'll see you there. Then we have the off lane. All right, I'm gonna go quick through the off lane because a lot of these heroes are pretty similar, but let's get into it. First, we have Axe. Vanguard's broken. Axe is in a pretty good place. I actually am a big fan of maxing Battle Hunger, buying a Phylactery and a Spirit Vessel, and playing magic damage Axe. I unironically think in most games it's better than Call Axe, but the standard build and the build that actually makes this hero have a high win rate is just standard Vanguard Blink Blade Mail. So if you don't know what to do, probably just go the normal build. But the other build, I'm going to make a video on it. It's really cool. Moving on from there, we have Underlord. It's just the best aura buyer in the game right now. I would say Darkseer is a close second, who's not on this list, but he's harder. Darkseer is a harder hero, but if you get off to a good start with Darkseer with the right heroes on his team is insanely powerful. It farms like a madman. It's like Underlord. Both of these heroes farm like madmen. They buy auras, and then even though they have like 3 items that don't do any damage and wouldn't necessarily enable your spells, their spells still have an insane amount of impact. Right, Atrophy Aura, 30% physical damage reduction in a massive radius. Pit of Malice is just a great spell. Firestorm does percentage-based damage, so it scales throughout the game. That's why these aura heroes are good. The aura items are broken, so you want heroes that have abilities that inherently do things without buying in items that enable them. For instance, when you play Batrider, it can be pretty awkward to buy auras because you need things like cooldown reduction from Octarine or bots or a BKB to get in the fight and actually lasso people, or a blink. You need to buy these items to enable the spells, so you don't have to do that with Darkseer or Underlord in most cases, and that's the advantage. And then finally, we have Legion, who can be an aura hero. I actually have played against aura Legion quite a bit, and it's good, but man, the changes to Legion just make this hero straight up better. The fact that attack speed is now tied to your overwhelming odds allows you to max Q and E in the lane, and man, when you have a favorable lane on Legion with max E and max Q now, it is unplayable. It's unplayable. You completely out-sustain with the Moment of Courage, and then anytime anyone mans up or you want to clear a wave, right, anytime you just want to like explode on anything, creeps, heroes, you just click your Q because it does a crazy amount of damage, like it always has, and it gives you the attack speed. Previously, it just gave you movement speed, which was good. It wasn't terrible. It helped you chase people down if you were like on your phase boots timing. But you didn't man up necessarily well with it, right? If the lane was a little bit harder, it was a closer matchup, Legion wouldn't be able to fight through. You would have to skill your W, but if you skilled your W, you didn't skill your Q. And that was the problem. It was like, do you want attack speed or do you want nukes? You had to pick. Now you don't have to pick. On top of that, you can cast overwhelming odds during duel, so you don't have to Q, blink, duel, and that's such a big deal because previously, if you wanted to skill Q and maximize your damage before duel when picking someone off, you had to Q, give them time to react, then blink duel. Now you can blink duel and then overwhelming odds during the duel. This is huge, right? It's less buttons to click, which is nice, right, before the duel, and you don't give them time to react and you can still nuke them and get the attack speed. On top of that, the attack speed gets completely used during the duel. Previously, if you used press the attack and you didn't instantly get the duel or you decided to back off, it got completely wasted. And you couldn't then dispel anyone on your team or yourself because it was on cooldown. Now your purge is not tied to your attack speed, so you can duel or you can look to duel and then still save a teammate. All right, now getting to mid laners. First off, we have Phylactery Clinks. I'm not kidding. I actually think Phylactery Clinks is going to be one of the best mid laners in the meta. After that, you go Treads, then you go Deso, and then you go Dragonlance. And man, this hero shreds. Why Phylactery? I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I'm going to make a video on this, but basically the Phylactery, it slows, and slows stack additively. So basically when you slow them with Phylactery, and then you slow them with your tar thingy, you do a ton of damage on a really low cooldown, and it just synergizes so well. The cooldown of the tar bomb and Phylactery lines up near perfectly. And you might be saying, why mid? The hero plays as a mid. Safe lane Clinks can work, but the reason why I don't love it is it's very susceptible to being run at in the laning stage. It doesn't last it too well. It's not bad though, really. Safe lane Clinks, I actually think it's pretty solid. Like, especially if the enemy lane isn't like a high pressure lane, it can own for sure. But I like it as a mid because the hero just needs a lot of levels, like a lot. It wants to max every one of its spells. It doesn't have like a spell where it's like, I don't really need this as much. It needs everything. And so it really feels like a mid to me, and it lanes pretty well because of the tar bomb. You can use secure creeps and harass out the enemy. And then in terms of rotating, absolutely. Your ultimate is Skeleton Walk. It's Skeleton Walk. It just makes you run around fast, and when you come out of it, you spawn skeletons and do a ton of damage. The hero is like a burst damage hero more than anything right now. that sounds like a mid laner, right? Where it's mobile and burst damage and can assassinate supports as the game progresses. Like, I really like Clinks as a mid. I just think it makes a lot of sense, and the Phylactery is very cool. It makes you tanky and gives you mana. Then we have Arc Warden. Now, I'm gonna make a video on Arc Warden, unless they patch it. The hero is kind of bugged right now, which was brought to my attention by my friend. I'm actually not gonna get into it right now. I wanna keep it as a bit of a secret, so I'll bring that up at some point. But Arc Warden has a build right now that's very disgusting and makes this hero a crazy mid in pubs where the enemy team isn't running you over. If you can get off to a decent start and hit an eventual timing, this is one of the highest, if not the highest damage hero in the game because of one main reason. If you know the reason, you can share it in the comment section down below. If you don't, well, you can figure it out from a future video, and so you should subscribe to this channel. And then finally, we have Pangolier. Pangolier is not a high win rate hero in pubs, but I felt I would put it on this list. I think I could have also put on Storm Spirit. I think Storm is a very reliable hero, but once again, these heroes are hard. They require a lot of resource management. You gotta know how to push your limits. You gotta know how to harass the enemy, right? The thing about Pango that he's good at is chipping people down. If you don't do that, which I coach quite a few Dota players, quite a lot of Dota players, mid players don't necessarily have this as part of their, I don't know, experience toolkit, knowledge. They don't do it. They don't chip enough. They do it sometimes, but they don't like harass the enemy with the idea of getting them low so they can kill them later or like push them away from the wave as much, right? Especially around like the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 minute mark. But moving on from that fact, the reason why I like Pango is I just think that the hero is very powerful. I think it's the best backline assassinator in the game. I think it scales well. It counters a lot of illusion heroes, so it like really rounds out drafts well. It gives you a chain stun hero. It gives you an oracle assassinator. It just does a lot. Like Pango is just one of those heroes where if you know what you're doing, it just does a ton. And the build that's become very popular is Diffusal into Ags. And the reason, and sometimes with Treads. And the reason why is Pango is now a universal hero. So Diffusal gives a lot of stats. It's actually being picked up on quite a few universal heroes, like Windranger. Diffusal gives you a lot of stats. Ags gives you a lot of stats. And so you stat up, you get very, very statted. And then you do a ton of damage with your swashes. Your swash does a ton. You rush the Ags, you have someone else initiate. So typically you want to pick them actually not as the main initiator because then you have to go blink, which doesn't feel as good. But you get your Ags, you get your level 15 talent, and you just kill people. Like this hero, I'm telling you guys, if you learn how to use the roll up properly, it takes a lot of practice, mechanical skills, very hard hero. You have to learn also how to use the damage reduction on its W properly, right? How do you push the limits? When do you bait? Because if you can blink into 4 heroes and hit a 4-man shield crash, you can bait. You can bait 4 heroes to go on you and spam all their spells on you, and you will live if you have 80% damage reduction. And so the point is that this is a hard hero, but I just believe it's top meta, even though the win rate does not say that, because it's hard. So if you want to spend a lot of time on a hero and really learn the ins and outs, I'd certainly recommend Pango. And finally, let's talk about the safe lane role. Starting with one of the harder heroes in Dota, we have Alchemist. Alchemist's win rate is pretty good right now, but honestly, I think the average player struggles a bit with it because the laning stage is honestly clunky. Farming, you gotta know where to place the acids. The hero definitely falls off into the late game, and so you gotta know how to hit hard timings, you gotta know how to lane with a very odd laning hero. The way he lanes is definitely bizarre. Compare it to the second hero on this list, which is Ricky. If you wanna go for a kill, you know what you do? You blink strike and you right click. With Alchemist, you gotta place acid at the right time when you're channeling the concoction. You gotta know when to channel concoction. You can't place acid in the wrong spot because if you do, it's gonna push the wave into the enemy. You have to know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, it's not gonna feel so good. It's not gonna look so good. It's kind of like Pango. If you know what you're doing, if you know how to hit the timings, if you can get a 16-minute Radiance BKB or Radiance Blink at like 14, like Radiance Blink Alchemist at 14, is so gross because all of a sudden you're just fighting, right? You have a Vanguard, you're like halfway to your pipe, you're like, I'm having such a good game, I'm so close to my Vanguard pipe, like, you know, I can turn my Vanguard to a pipe, this is gonna be so strong, I'm gonna hit such a timing, and then a team fight breaks out, you're like, all right, I'll show up, I'm pretty strong anyway, I didn't complete my item, but I'll show up anyway, and all of a sudden an Alch blinks on you, and he's hitting for like 140, 150, and then your armor goes low, and he hits you for a 4-second stun. And you can't run away because he has a new passive and he's burning you with a radiance and it's 14 minutes in and you're like, this is really not cool. And then the fight continues to go on and it's like, oh, Unstable Concoction is a really low cooldown and he keeps stunning my team. And it's a massive AoE if he takes the level 10 talent, which he could have at minute 14. So yeah, Alch, definitely a very powerful hero, really broken. Talking about broken heroes, Ricky, yeah, I actually don't like Ricky at high MMR, but I'll be real, guys. The hero's win rate's very good, and it usually is. And even though it got nerfed in 7.33B, very, very hard, it's still good. Basically, here's the gist. You go treads, you go defusal, and you kill people. That's it. That's literally it. You buy treads, you buy defusal, you buy magic wand, probably wand before the defusal. Unless your game's really good, you can rush defusal, but the hero has sustain issues, so you should probably buy magic wand before you rush defusal. But the point being is you run around, you kill people, and then you snowball really hard because your ult gives you XP when you kill people. So yeah, this hero, while it could fall behind on XP in the past, if it wasn't getting a ton of creeps, it doesn't matter, you just get it from heroes now. I mean, you used to get it from heroes in the past, but now you really get it from heroes. So, defusal Ricky. Defusal is very cheap too. It has been for a while, but it's like very cheap. Nah, but really you just kill people with defusal, you go mad to ags, you clear your waves with that, and you do a lot of damage and you kill people. And then you go nullifier actually. Buy nullifier, guys. Buy nullifier. Don't go dataless, go nullifier. Purchase Crimson, purchase Bavis, purchase Glimmer, purchase Ghost, purchase Yules, purchase Force, purchase literally everything that counters Ricky. So buy a nullifier. Alright, and then finally, I don't have to explain this. If you haven't played against Medusa, you don't understand. It's the most broken hero in Dota, easily. It is obscenely broken. If you play this hero and chain lose, you're just awful at Dota. I don't know what to tell you. Clearly aren't cut out for Dota. I don't know what to tell you. It's broken, alright? You're the problem. You are the problem if you can't win with Medusa. It is the highest win rate hero on Dota buff, highest win rate hero on Dota 2 Pro Tracker. It's really broken. It's literally played as a support. It can play 5. It can play position 4. Can't play position 3. I'm just kidding. Of course it can play position 3. It can't play mid. Of course it can. And definitely it plays safe lane. It just plays every role because the hero's numbers are way too stupid. For every 4 damage you take, you lose 1 mana. How does that make any sense? You take no damage. As long as you get eventually a Scotty, you can't die at all. Ever. You don't die. Ever. Your hero cannot die. I promise it doesn't die. And that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video of the top 3 heroes of each role. If you enjoyed, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.